What if I told you that the biggest threat to your success, your relationships, and your peace of mind isn't your competition, your lack of resources, or even bad luck? What if the real danger comes from a force so common, so democratically distributed, that it's probably sitting right next to you in your office, your family dinner table, or even looking back at you in the mirror? I'm talking about human stupidity, and by the end of this video, you're going to see the world in a completely different way. Before we dive deep into this life-changing revelation, hit that like button if you're ready to challenge everything you think you know about the people around you, and subscribe to Timeless Advice if you want more content that cuts through social conditioning to reveal uncomfortable truths about human behavior. Trust me, you're going to want to be part of this community after what you're about to learn. Here's what's really happening. Every single day, you're encountering people who are systematically destroying value, yours and everyone else's, without even realizing it. They're not evil, they're not malicious, and they might even be highly educated or successful. But they're following patterns that are so predictable, so scientifically observable, that an Italian economist named Carlo Cipolla was able to distill them into 5 laws that will completely change how you navigate relationships, career decisions, and life choices. The most shocking part: you've been trained to ignore these patterns, to make excuses for them, and to leave yourself completely vulnerable to their destructive power. By the time this video ends, you'll have a framework for identifying these people before they can damage your life, protecting yourself strategically, and perhaps most importantly, ensuring you're not accidentally becoming one of them yourself. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal something about the 5th law that will fundamentally change how you assess danger and risk in every area of your life. You know what's funny? We spend billions of dollars researching cancer, heart disease, and mental health issues, but there's one epidemic that's been silently destroying lives, relationships, and entire societies for millennia, and we barely acknowledge it exists. I'm talking about human stupidity, and trust me, it's way more dangerous than you think. Carlo Cipolla, this brilliant Italian economist, didn't just stumble upon this theory while sipping espresso in Rome. He observed patterns that most of us are too polite or too blind to see. Here's the thing that'll blow your mind. Stupidity isn't what you think it is. It's not about lack of education or low IQ scores. We're dealing with something far more sophisticated and, frankly, terrifying. Think about that colleague who somehow manages to screw things up for everyone while never seeming to learn from their mistakes. Or that friend who consistently makes decisions that hurt both themselves and others, yet they keep repeating the same patterns. That's not ignorance. That's stupidity in its purest, most destructive form. The scariest part? Most people walking around today have no clue they're surrounded by this invisible force that's quietly sabotaging their success, their relationships, and their peace of mind. You've probably encountered it multiple times just this week, maybe in traffic, at work, or scrolling through social media. But because we've been conditioned to be nice and understanding, we dismiss these encounters as isolated incidents rather than recognizing the systematic pattern that's right in front of us. What makes this epidemic particularly insidious is that it doesn't discriminate. It cuts across all social classes, education levels, and professions. You'll find it in boardrooms and coffee shops, in universities and construction sites. The democratically distributed nature of human stupidity means that your Harvard-educated boss might be just as capable of causing massive damage as someone who dropped out of high school. And that's exactly where Cipolla's first law comes into play. Let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. How many people do you encounter daily who you'd classify as genuinely stupid? Be honest. You're probably thinking of 1 or 2 obvious cases, right? Well, here's where Cipolla drops his first bombshell. You're systematically underestimating the number of stupid people in circulation. Always. No exceptions. Your brain, in its attempt to maintain faith in humanity, consistently tricks you into believing that most people are rational, well-intentioned, and capable of basic logical thinking. It's like wearing rose-colored glasses, except these glasses are potentially dangerous to your personal development and decision-making. You give people the benefit of the doubt, you rationalize their destructive behavior, and you convince yourself that surely they didn't mean it that way. Meanwhile, the damage keeps piling up around you. Think about your workplace for a second. You probably assume that most of your colleagues are competent and working toward common goals. But if you really start paying attention, and I mean really observing behaviors rather than listening to words, you'll begin to notice patterns that'll shock you. That person who consistently schedules meetings that accomplish nothing, who creates problems that didn't exist before, who somehow manages to waste everyone's time while appearing busy. That's not bad luck or poor training. That's the first law in action. The psychological reason behind this systematic underestimation is fascinating. We project our own cognitive processes onto others, assuming they think and reason the way we do. It's called the false consensus effect, and it's been screwing people over since the dawn of civilization. When you understand that your natural tendency is to underestimate stupidity, you can start making better strategic decisions about who to trust, who to work with, and how to protect yourself. But before we dive into protective strategies, you need to understand something even more shocking about how stupidity operates. Now here's where things get really interesting, and probably a bit unsettling. You might think that stupidity correlates with lack of education, low social status, or limited resources. You know, the classic stereotypes we see in movies and hear in casual conversations. But Cipolla's second law destroys this comfortable illusion completely. The probability that a person is stupid is independent of any other characteristic that person may possess. Translation? Smart, wealthy, educated people can be just as stupid as anyone else. This hits hard because it means your Ivy League educated boss, your wealthy neighbor, your PhD-holding professor, and your successful entrepreneur friend all have the same probability of being stupid as the person working minimum wage at the local diner. Stupidity doesn't care about your resume, your bank account, or your degrees hanging on the wall. It's like a lottery that nobody wants to win, but the tickets are distributed completely at random across the entire population. I've seen this play out countless times in corporate America. You've probably witnessed it too. Brilliant engineers who can solve complex technical problems but consistently make decisions that torpedo team morale. Successful executives who build million-dollar companies but somehow manage to alienate every talented person who works for them. Professors with multiple degrees who create bureaucratic nightmares that serve no purpose except to waste everyone's time. Their intelligence and achievements don't immunize them against the capacity for destructive behavior. This democratic distribution of stupidity explains why so many organizations, families, and social groups struggle with dysfunction despite having access to smart, educated people. When you accept that intelligence doesn't protect against stupidity, you start making better decisions about how to structure your life, your career, and your relationships. You stop assuming that impressive credentials automatically equal good judgment. But understanding who might be stupid is just the beginning. You also need to recognize what stupid behavior actually looks like. Here's where we get to the core of what makes stupidity so uniquely dangerous. The third law defines a stupid person as someone who causes losses to others while gaining nothing for themselves. Read that again, because this definition will change how you see the world. We're not talking about selfishness or malice. Those are different categories entirely. We're talking about people who create lose-lose situations without even realizing it. Picture this scenario. You're in a meeting where someone consistently interrupts productive discussions with irrelevant comments, derailing progress and wasting everyone's time. They're not doing it to gain power or attention. They genuinely seem to think they're being helpful. Meanwhile, the project gets delayed, team morale drops, and nothing gets accomplished. The stupid person gains nothing from this behavior, but everyone else suffers the consequences. That's the third law in perfect action. What makes this particularly frustrating is that stupid people often appear well-intentioned. They're not villains in the traditional sense. They don't wake up planning to cause destruction. In fact, they often seem surprised when things go wrong around them. Your stupid colleague genuinely believes they're contributing when they volunteer for tasks they can't handle, missing deadlines and creating extra work for everyone else. They don't benefit from the chaos, but the damage is real and measurable. The social media landscape is absolutely loaded with third law examples. People sharing misinformation not because they want to deceive, but because they genuinely believe they're helping spread awareness. They gain nothing. No money, no real status boost, no meaningful connections, but they contribute to the erosion of public discourse and critical thinking. The pattern is always the same. Zero benefit to the stupid person, significant costs to everyone else. But here's what's even more disturbing about this dynamic. This law might be the most personally relevant one for you, especially if you're someone who prides yourself on being rational and strategic. The fourth law states that non-stupid people consistently underestimate the damaging power of stupid people. In other words, even when you're smart enough to recognize stupidity, you're still not taking it seriously enough. You're making a critical error in risk assessment that could be costing you big time. Think about how you typically respond when you encounter obviously stupid behavior. You probably roll your eyes, maybe vent to a friend, and then move on with your day, right? You treat it like a minor inconvenience rather than a legitimate threat to your goals and well-being. But here's the brutal truth. While you're dismissing these encounters as harmless annoyances, stupid people are consistently causing measurable damage to your projects, your relationships, and your peace of mind. I've watched brilliant entrepreneurs lose millions because they underestimated the capacity of one stupid investor to torpedo an entire deal. I've seen talented employees quit great jobs because they couldn't handle the daily stress of working with stupid colleagues, while management dismissed their concerns as personality conflicts. The pattern is always the same. Smart people recognize the stupidity, but they fail to implement adequate protective measures because they assume the damage will be minimal or temporary. The fourth law reveals a dangerous blind spot in how intelligent people assess risk. You probably spend significant time and energy protecting yourself from malicious actors, people who might try to cheat, steal, or manipulate you. But you're leaving yourself completely vulnerable to a different type of threat, people who will damage your interests without any malicious intent whatsoever. The destruction is just as real, but your defenses are down because you can't comprehend the mindset. And this brings us to perhaps the most chilling revelation of all. Brace yourself for this one, because it's going to challenge everything you think you know about danger and risk management. The fifth law declares that stupid people are the most dangerous type of people. More dangerous than criminals, more dangerous than malicious actors, more dangerous than your worst enemies. Why? Because at least with other types of people, you can predict their behavior and develop countermeasures. Stupid people are wildcards that operate outside the bounds of rational expectation. When you're dealing with a criminal, you know they're motivated by personal gain. You can anticipate their moves, set up security measures, and protect yourself accordingly. When you're facing a malicious person, you understand they want to hurt you, so you can prepare defensive strategies. But stupid people? They're completely unpredictable because they don't follow logical patterns. They'll destroy value for everyone, including themselves, and you can't anticipate when or how because even they don't know what they're going to do next. The unpredictability factor makes stupid people incredibly dangerous in any system that requires coordination, trust, or long-term planning. In your career, a stupid boss can derail years of progress with a single bad decision that serves no rational purpose. In your personal life, a stupid family member can create relationship drama that benefits nobody but somehow keeps escalating. In society, stupid people can vote for policies that hurt their own interests while damaging everyone else's prospects for prosperity and peace. What makes this even more terrifying is that stupid people often occupy positions of influence and authority. Remember the second law: stupidity is democratically distributed across all levels of society. This means you're likely dealing with stupid people who have the power to make decisions that affect your life, your career, and your future. They're not evil masterminds with secret agendas. They're just people who consistently create lose-lose situations without understanding the consequences. The question becomes, how do you protect yourself in a world where the most dangerous people are also the most unpredictable? That's where strategic thinking becomes absolutely crucial. Alright, now that you understand the scope of the problem, let's talk about practical solutions. The first step in defending yourself against stupidity is developing what I call stupidity radar. The ability to quickly identify potentially stupid people before they can cause significant damage to your life or goals. This isn't about being judgmental or cruel. It's about protecting your time, energy, and resources from unnecessary destruction. Start paying attention to patterns rather than individual incidents. Does this person consistently create problems that didn't exist before they got involved? Do they regularly make decisions that benefit nobody while creating work for others? Do they seem genuinely surprised when their actions lead to negative consequences? These are red flags that should trigger your defensive protocols. The key is learning to trust these observations even when the person seems nice, well-meaning, or highly credentialed. Once you've identified potentially stupid people in your environment, you need to implement what I call strategic distance. This doesn't mean being rude or hostile. It means minimizing their ability to impact your important projects and decisions. In professional settings, this might mean avoiding joint ventures, limiting information sharing, or requesting detailed written agreements for any collaboration. In personal relationships, it could mean setting clearer boundaries and reducing emotional investment in their problems. The most sophisticated defensive strategy is building what I call stupidity buffers, systems and processes that limit the potential damage when stupid people inevitably do stupid things. This might mean having backup plans for important projects, diversifying your social and professional networks so no single person can derail your progress, or developing the habit of double-checking important information before acting on it. The goal isn't to eliminate all contact with stupid people. That's impossible. But to ensure that their inevitable destructive behavior doesn't destroy what you've worked hard to build. But there's one more critical element to consider. Here's the uncomfortable question you've been avoiding. What if you're the stupid person in someone else's story? What if, despite your best intentions and rational self-image, you're the one consistently creating lose-lose situations? This isn't meant to be an attack on your character. It's about developing the kind of ruthless self-awareness that separates truly intelligent people from those who just think they're intelligent. The mirror test requires you to honestly examine your recent decisions and their outcomes. Have you been involved in situations where everyone lost, including yourself? Do people around you seem frustrated or stressed after interacting with you, even when you're trying to be helpful? Have you noticed patterns where your good intentions somehow lead to bad results? These are warning signs that your behavior might be falling into the third law category, and ignoring them won't make the pattern disappear. Self-awareness about potential stupidity is actually a sign of intelligence, not weakness. Truly stupid people lack the capacity for this kind of introspection. They genuinely don't understand why things go wrong around them. But if you're capable of questioning your own behavior and seeking feedback from trusted sources, you're already demonstrating the kind of cognitive flexibility that can prevent you from causing unnecessary damage to yourself and others. The most powerful protection against becoming stupid is developing what I call outcome consciousness, the habit of tracking the real-world results of your decisions rather than just focusing on your intentions. Ask yourself regularly, are my actions creating value or destroying it? Are the people around me better off or worse off after our interactions? Am I contributing to solutions or inadvertently creating new problems? This kind of honest self-assessment might be uncomfortable, but it's the only way to ensure you're not unknowingly operating under the third law. Because ultimately, understanding stupidity isn't just about protecting yourself from others, it's about becoming the kind of person others don't need protection from. So here we are at the crossroads of awareness and action. You now possess something that most people will go their entire lives without understanding: a scientific framework for identifying one of the most destructive forces in human society. The question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to continue operating under the comfortable illusion that most people are rational and well-intentioned, or are you going to start making strategic decisions based on observable reality? Before you click away, please hit that like button right now if this video opened your eyes to patterns you've been ignoring. And make sure you're subscribed to Timeless Advice with notifications turned on, because understanding human stupidity is just the beginning of developing the kind of strategic thinking that separates successful people from everyone else. Let me challenge you with some uncomfortable questions. How many opportunities have you lost because you trusted the wrong people? How many projects have been derailed because you underestimated the destructive power of stupidity? How many times have you watched obviously bad decisions get made by intelligent people who should have known better? And perhaps most importantly, how many times have you been the stupid person in someone else's story without even realizing it? The brutal truth is that most people will watch this video, nod along with the insights, maybe share it with a friend, and then continue living exactly as they did before. They'll go back to giving people the benefit of the doubt, underestimating the frequency and impact of stupidity, and leaving themselves vulnerable to predictable patterns of destruction. Don't be most people. Start implementing these laws immediately. Develop your stupidity radar, create strategic buffers, and begin the uncomfortable but necessary work of honest self-assessment. If you found value in this deep dive into human behavior and want more content that challenges conventional wisdom about success, relationships, and personal development, subscribing to this channel and hitting that notification bell is the smartest decision you can make today. We're building a community of people who refuse to accept surface-level explanations for complex human dynamics. The 5 laws of stupidity aren't just academic theory. They're practical tools for navigating a world where your biggest threats often come disguised as helpful colleagues, well-meaning friends, and even respected authorities. Master these concepts, and you'll find yourself making better decisions about who to trust, who to work with, and how to protect what you've built. Ignore them, And you'll keep wondering why intelligent people consistently make such destructive choices. The choice, as always, is entirely yours.